Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Mr. Community, which is she. Let's get it right. I am Sidney Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keenan McGee on IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please, please, please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media, WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and don't do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I'm going to give Lakina full power to give you full spiel and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago, now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap that sports folder and download their Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, just hit up the Google Play Store and download the Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
We will provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, we'll talk about the we'll talk about the winter meetings that are going on right now. Will there be some Shohei news and some more suitors for Dylan Cease? Will he be traded during these meetings? Also, too, of course, the Bulls have won 2 in a row. Yay! The rest of the NBA. We can't say. Also, too, of course, the tournament. They're in the quarterfinals. That starts tomorrow. Excuse me. And, of course, the college football playoff. I know Sid has a lot to say, and so do I. So we'll have more about that later on in the show and a whole lot more. Time for many old school TV Monday. But first, no Bears. Thank God. Thank the Lord, I should say. But you know what? Though, look, there was still a lot of football, on tap yesterday. And let's start with the new game. Let's get this one out the way because it was just a terrible game. Shout out to our boy Spiro Dees who had the call of this game, but unfortunately, he and Adam Archuleta had a dud because the Chargers beat the Patriots 6-0. No, that was not the Angels beating the Red Sox. That was not that was a baseball score. Justin Herbert threw for 212 yards. Really nothing much happening. I mean, Austin Eckler was the best rusher at 18 yards. Ezekiel Elliott had 52 yards in the losing effort. Bailey Zappi only threw for 141 yards, was sacked 5 times. So this was a defensive battle, and not in a good way. So what you think about this game?
I turned to this game twice. It was like watching paint dry. I said enough of this, and I went to watch other interesting games we'll get to in just a moment. But as you mentioned, no offense here. The Patriots look worse than the Chargers. If you're a Chargers fan, you will not be happy with this victory. Even if they win out the rest of the schedule, somehow make it to the playoffs, which I don't see happening. But if you're a Chargers fan, you have to feel worse because you have all that talent offensively with Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnston, the rookie wide receiver who's trying to be a stud from TCU, their number 1 draft pick. You expected more than 6 points, and it was just embarrassing. You're talking about watching paint dry. This was it. It was another game that you could say that you'll watch and paint dry. We'll get to that in just a moment. But this was a dud game. And the only other clips that I saw was when I had it on Red Zone for a while. But I have nothing else to add to this game, to be honest with you.
That's why I went ahead and got that game out the way, just because we were
Good.
probably gonna have too much to say about this game. Now, speaking of, going to Heinz Field just a little further west here. After two weather delays, I think there was some lightning that hit the Pittsburgh area early on. There was I think there was like one was like a 20-minute rain delay, and there was like another one that was like about
Mm-hmm.
almost like a half an oh like 35 minutes or something like that. Well, bring up the Arizona Cardinals. They beat the Steelers for 24-10. Kyler Murray threw for 145 yards and a TD. Mitch Trubisky had to come in relief of Kenny Pickett, who injured his ankle. He threw a touchdown pass. Talk about Mitch did, but that was really all the offense that they really had. I'm talking about for Pittsburgh. James Conner had a rushing TD, and Trey McBride had the other TD that was scored. So, Sid, yeah, the offensive woes continue for the Steelers.
Yeah, you thought after the first possession when they scored 3 points, they were finally starting to get it together. I actually watched the majority of this game via this computer screen. Kenny Pickett and George Pickens were actually making a connection. The running game started to get going, and then the weather delay happened. And the Arizona Cardinals, to their credit, they they took it to the Steelers before the rain delays. But Kyler Murray looked efficient. Trey McBride, the tight end, that's their number one target right now. And you mentioned James Conner. He had 105 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns to former Steeler running back. He really had vengeance on his mind, and he took advantage of that yesterday. So the Cardinals, they did what they had to do. The Steelers' injuries woes continue. Kenny Pickett with that injured ankle, he's going to be out of multiple weeks. And you would think this would alter the Steelers' season. It may, but we'll see. But the Cardinals stayed with the Steelers. The Steelers did not put them away even before the delay. So shout out to the Cardinals for sticking with their game plan and coming out with a dominating win.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to go to the playoffs, but Jonathan Cannon's got his guys, playing very well, especially now with Kyler back. He's starting to get a little bit better coming off that ACL surgery. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Cardinals could definitely give some teams some fits. So, they all those playoff teams or will be playoff teams, they better watch out because it's not going to be an easy win if you have the Cardinals on your schedule remaining. A thriller here in the AFC South. You got the Colts beating the Titans in overtime, 38-28. Gardner Minshew threw for 312 yards and 2 TDs, including the game winner TD pass to Mr. Michael Pittman Jr., who had 105 receiving yards. Alec Pierce had 100 receiving yards. On the flip side for the Titans, Will Levis, I should say, threw for 224 yards, a touchdown, but was sacked 6 times. So the Colts defense definitely kept the Colts in the game. The Titans at bay. Derrick Henry, despite he rushed for 102 yards and 2 TDs, but the Colts, 7-5, and they're right in the thick of it in the AFC playoff picture.
Yes, Gardner Minshew has done a great job filling in for rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson. He was efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. And even though the Colts didn't have that great effect on the running game yesterday, I know Zach Moss started in place of Jonathan Taylor, but Minshew kept the Colts in the game. And I think on the flip side for the Titans, what, in my opinion, turned that game around was when their punter got injured. And their special teams didn't recover. The Colts took advantage of that, and they went on to the overtime victory. But even though I did pick the Titans to win, Lakina, they looked strong early, scoring 17 first half points. But even though they did score 6 in the fourth quarter, that you could tell that after that injury, that the momentum turned in the Colts' favor, and they took advantage of it.
Yes, they did, and like I said, those 6 sacks, from Will Levis, by the Colts defense, they kept the Colts in it, so they were able to kind of come in, Jonathan Stidham. I mean, do you think he could be I know I asked you this like a last week, but a couple weeks back, but do you think he's definitely making a case for Coach of the Year?
I think so, especially if the coach. Yeah, especially if they get into the playoffs. Yes, because let's be honest here, Lakina. What did we say about this Colts team at the start of the year? Anthony Richardson, their rookie QB, their first round pick. We expected him to possibly grow, to grow and perhaps be that franchise quarterback. But outside of the defense, no one expected them to be in the thick of the AFC South race. I know you have Jacksonville who plays tonight. They're leading the division, but no one expected the Colts to reach 500. They were rebuilding. They got rid of Frank Reich a couple of years ago. They got rid of Jeff Saturday, which was a failed experiment. So they were starting anew. So for the Colts to be at 7-5 right now, they won 5 of their 6 games away from home. That's very impressive in itself. So if they get into the playoffs, like you said, he should be head coach of the year, at least a top candidate.
Yes, Shane Stitchum, I think, Steichen or Stitch. I've heard his last name spelled like a different way, so well, maybe he'll get his name right if he wins Coach of the Year. Saying the AFC South, we go to Houston as the Texans hold off the Broncos 22-17. We had this game here in Chicago, got this game, had this game in the background. Here, a pretty thrilling game. CJ Stroud got a little bit banged up with the ankle, but he says he's fine. We threw for 224 yards and a TD. Russell Wilson threw for 186 yards and a touchdown, but had 3 interceptions, so that was a difference in the game there. Houston also is right there with the AFC, even probably even the division too, but also definitely the playoff push in the AFC.
Yeah, as I said on Friday, I know you and Christine both picked Denver to win. I had Houston because of their defense, and their defense did set the tone early in that first half. Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense just couldn't get anything going, but in the second half, they were more efficient. They woke up Javonte Williams, I should say, had 46 yards rushing for the whole game, but he started to wake up in the second half. Russell Wilson did not force mistakes. He did in that second half, including that his third interception, which was thrown in the end zone, which wrapped up the game for the Titans. But Tank Dell, he got injured early in the game, their rookie wide receiver, and he's going to be gone, looks like, for the year. Nico Collins stepped up 9 catches for 191 yards in the score. But it was that Texans defense that saved the day for Houston. Now they're sitting at 7-5. And let's be honest here too, Lakina. You talk about Stickum in Indianapolis. What about DeMeco Ryans? I thought that this Texas team will be improving starting now, but no one, including yours truly, had them at 7-5 at the start of the year.
Not think anybody had that, so this is a really great performance by the Texans, and definitely, you could definitely put DeMeco Ryans in that, definitely in that right up there for Coach of the Year, because I don't think anybody thought that that Houston would be 7-5, coming in and right there in the thick of it, just right in the 7th spot in the AFC playoff picture. So definitely should be applauded as well for the stuff he's done. That defense has been really good. CJ Stroud's been great as well. So yeah, this is really gonna be interesting, especially these next few weeks. So this is gonna get interesting, especially in the AFC South with the Jags, the Colts, and the Texans. So as far as Denver is concerned, this could be one of those losses that can come back to bite you in the butts, unfortunately. You're trying to be right there. There's a little bit of a log jam in the AFC. So this could be a loss that kind of puts a cap on your playoff hopes if you're Denver.
Yeah. I know Denver has a tough schedule of starting next week to wrap up the year, but if they miss the playoffs, they're going to look back at this game and say to themselves, we had a chance to take this game because Houston, even though they were dominant in the first half defensively, we had our chances in the second half of that game. We just didn't capitalize on when we needed to most.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens the rest of the schedule for Denver. We'll take a really quick break, of course. We're talking about the rest of the NFL Week 13 slate, including, of course, studs and duds. I got a few myself here. Some pretty interesting upsets, too, in some of these games. And the Niners are sending messages to the rest of the NFC. Hey, you know what? We're probably the team to beat. That and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Sexy Sports, on Sports Chicago. More NFL coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
I think Sid was trying to keep himself warm by doing that. Are you following my Keita McGee on the Twitter? Zacchaeus working the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Let's talk about the rest of the Week 13 slate in the NFL. Let's continue it down in New Orleans, the Big Easy. This other game was on here in Chicago, 33-28. The Lions held off the Saints. You thought that maybe the game was over with when Detroit went up 21-0 in the first, but to the Saints' credit, they came back. But Detroit made the defensive stops when they needed to. Jared Goff threw for 213 yards and 2 TDs. David Montgomery had a rushing TD on the flip side for the Saints. Taysom Hill had a rushing touchdown, and also Derek Carr had his struggle. Now Jameis Woods he threw for a touchdown, but Jameis Woods was out there for a little bit, but didn't really he threw for 45 yards, didn't really contribute too much. Alvin Kamara had a rushing TD as well to help the Saints get back in it, but it wasn't enough for them as the Lions were able to hold them off.
Yeah, the Lions jumped out on the Saints early, as you mentioned, but I think it all came down to physicality, Lakina. The Lions were a more physical team than the Saints were, and I think that's one of the reasons why Derek Carr was out of the game due to an injury. But the Lions ran the ball at the point of attack with Jahmyr Gibbs. Also, he had 60 yards rushing the other day. But the Lions they controlled the line of scrimmage from beginning to end. Even when the Saints got back in, and when the Lions had to make a big play at the right time, they did. So it was all about physicality, in my opinion. That's why the Lions came out there with a 5-point win. Now they sit at 9-3 in the control of the NFC North division, or the NFC North, as Chris Berman would say.
Yeah, definitely. And then when you thought that the Saints were, did, make a score, the Lions would, either come right back and score or else make a defensive stop
Mhm.
after that. So, yeah, that's what good teams do. So that's what, look, if Detroit wants to get back to that level, they're going to have to do these, going to have to go through these kinds of games. So, good for the Lions for pulling this off. Let's go to,
Real quick, like let's talk about their rookie tight end. I'm talking about for the Lions, Sam Laporta. He had
Sam
a great
Laporta.
game
Yes.
yesterday. 9 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown. He's starting to become one of the best young tight ends in the league.
Yeah, well, they're going to be seeing, he's going to be seeing the Bears defense Sunday. So Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Briscoe is going to have a hard time trying to guard him. So they'll have
Yep.
that task. Yeah, I mean, he already has record by a rookie tight end. So he's on his way to breaking the franchise record too, and also other rookie records for a tight end. So yeah, I mean, Salapore is having a great season for the Lions. Now we can go to New Jersey as the Falcons beat the Jets 13-8. No, this is not the Braves beating the Yankees. No, this was not a baseball score. Desmond Ritter threw for 121 yards and a TD. Tim Boyle had an interception, threw for 145 yards. Bijan Robinson rushed for 53 for Atlanta. The Jets really couldn't get together on offense, and they had the first score was a safety by the Jets. Then there was a touchdown. The only touchdown from the only touchdown was from Mike Evans, who actually now has, if I can get this stat up here, the man, good grief, this guy's already been in the league over a decade, which it doesn't seem right, but. He now has at least a touchdown in each of his first 10 seasons in the NFL. That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, Atlanta is trying to take control of the NFC South.
Yeah, when we picked this game on Friday, as I said, the Falcons just because, and they proved to me right. But I didn't think this score was going to be this ugly. I couldn't decide if this game was another watch the paint dry or it's just another bag of puke. You could decide for yourself. But both teams really couldn't get it going offensively. Atlanta's defense, I guess, was better than the Jets by default, but it was just another bad game. I mean, bad as in terrible to watch. I turned to it a couple of times, but you really, the Jets, all the talk, we talked about this last week, all the talk about Aaron Rodgers coming back to save the season. It was just a bunch of nonsense. Even if he was totally healthy right now, first of all, they wouldn't have a 4-8 record, but it'll be the opposite. But the Jets, they're one of the few teams that can't wait for the season to get it over with in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't the Falcons aren't the prettiest team, but look, they're 6-6. They're right there in the NFC South. So yeah, I'm looking. This is gonna be very interesting. Kyle Pitts. Look, they finally found Sid. He had a 51 receiving yards. So again, if you watch this game, God bless you. But yeah, that was not a good game. There, the last of the noon games. Dolphins, no trouble with the Commanders, 45-15. I mean, I turned this game off when it was 17-0 or something like that. But in the first quarter, for 280 yards and 2 TDs. Tyreek Hill caught both of those TDs, 157 receiving yards. On the flip side for Washington, Sam Howell threw for 121 yards and an interception. Really couldn't get it going. The Dolphins were just the better team today. Yes.
As I got Herb Howard from It's the Bigs Media said last Friday on our show, Tyree Hill should be a candidate for MVP. He showed it once again yesterday with 5 catches, 157 yards, and 2 long touchdown receptions. It was all about him yesterday. It was all about Devin A-Chain as well. 17 carries for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Dolphins have, if not the best offense in the league. They could put up points in just in a snap of a finger like that. So, like you said, it was they were the better team yesterday. I thought that the Commanders would put up a better fight, especially defensively, but they were outclassed yesterday, and the Dolphins walked away with a 30-point win.
And right there, at the top of the NFC East. So yeah, that was just a dominant performance by the Dolphins yesterday. Now to the 3 o'clock game as we go, going to Tampa. as this actually was a little bit closer than I think a lot of people expected. But maybe if he did, they had a coaching change of Carolina, but they did keep it close against Tampa, 21-18. Mike Evans had a TD catch, and also too has over 1,000 receiving yards for the 10th straight season. That's I can't believe it's been 10 years since this guy has joined the league, but also too, that's every season since he's been playing, he has over 1,000 receiving yards. We've got about 5 games left, so just amazing what he's been able to accomplish. Baker Mayfield threw for 202 yards, I should say, with that TD pass to Evans. On the flip side, Bryce Young threw for 178 yards. Chuba Hubbard had 2 rushing TDs and 104 yards, but it wasn't enough for Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina really showed what they were made of with, like you said, with their new head coach yesterday. On the flip side for the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, he did throw an interception, but he barely did enough to have Tampa Bay win that ball game. Now I know the Buccaneers rushing attack wasn't that great, but they did enough to hold on for that victory. Now with them being in a conversation with the New Orleans Saints, who lost yesterday, all of a sudden Tampa Bay's now in second place in that terrible NFC South division. Go figure that.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, that's how it was last year, right? I mean, look, remember Carolina was right there for the NFC South for
and this one Brady was on the team. Talking about with Tampa.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I'm talking about Carolina too. They were in the thick of it right there in NFC South as well, and they do play Atlanta, on Sunday. So that's going to be interesting. That match that could be for control of that NFC South. So a big game there. Now let's do it. No, let's go to Los Angeles first. I want to say that 49ers Philly game for last. The Rams, they pulled away from the Browns 36-19. Matt Stafford threw for 278 yards and 3 TDs. Kyron Williams rushed for 68 yards and a TD. Puka Akua had a touchdown. We'll get to him in a second for our studs and duds in a minute. On the flip side, Joe Flacco in his first, I think it was like 3 years. He threw 252 yards and 2 TDs. But it wasn't enough. The Browns just couldn't get it going on offense, especially on the rushing side. They only had 87 yards, 87 yards rushing, but they just couldn't get it going. And the Rams was too much for them.
Yeah, everybody wants to blame Joe Flacco for that interception at the middle of that fourth quarter yesterday when the Browns were trying to march down the field to tie the game after their kicker missed the extra point. It wasn't Joe Flacco's fault that the Browns lost the game. As you mentioned, there was a lack of running game, which was one of their strengths of their team all season long. That didn't show up yesterday. Now, the defense for the Browns held their own, but when you don't get help from your offense, it's only a matter of time before you break, and that's what happened to Cleveland yesterday. So Joe Flacco, for not playing in almost 2 years, he did a heck of a job. He was not the reason, I repeat again, he was not the reason why the Cleveland Browns lost. On the flip side for the Rams, as we said on Friday, Lakina, take that pressure off of Matthew Stafford, run the ball well with Kyron Williams and whoever else wants to join them back there, and hit plays over the middle and take your 1-2 shots down the field a game. And that's what happened to the Rams yesterday. And now suddenly, all of a sudden, they're in the thick of the NFC wildcard race at 6-6.
I don't think anybody had that early in the season. So nice job by the Rams. Puka Nacua took just 12 games for him to reach 1,000 receiving yards. I mean, they definitely found he's a 5th rounder from BYU, so they've definitely found a gem there. So we'll see. I mean,
same thing with Cooper Kupp a couple years ago.
Yeah. So Cooper and Kupp had a nice game as well. So finding some gems, in the later rounds, those early rounds. They found a couple of good ones in the mid round, so good for the Rams. Now let's go to Philadelphia, and San Francisco winning is probably not the surprise, but I think the bigger surprise is the way they dominated the Eagles 42-19. Brock Purdy threw for 314 yards and 4 TDs. Christian McCaffrey had a rushing TD. Deebo Samuel had 160 receiving yards and 2 TDs. On the flip side for Philly, Jalen Hurts threw for 298 yards and a touchdown. He was a little bit banged up. He also had a rushing TD as well. But it was a crazy game. If you watch this game, it was a game of the week. But the 49ers sending a message that hey, you know what? We may be the team to beat in the NFC.
We talked about this before we went on live today. The Philadelphia Eagles, the first 2 drives of the game, they were on it. they only muster up 2 field goals, and I told you the 49ers smelled blood because the Eagles started off hot, but they only came away with 2 field goals in their first 2 possessions. The 49ers took control from the second quarter on, in my opinion, scoring 14 points in each quarter, second through the fourth quarter. That was a total, excuse my French, that was a total ass whipping that the 49ers put on the Eagles yesterday. And the 49ers, remember what happened last year. As I said on Friday, this 49ers team is not the same team than when they visited Philadelphia a year ago in the NFC title game. So, like you said, they clearly sent a message yesterday in Philadelphia, even though they're 10-2 on the year. What do we say all year, Lakina? At least I've been saying this. They just don't look like the same team as they were as they did last year when everything was going well for them until the month of December. They started injuries started to creep up on them. It looks like the same thing is happening again, but you have a little bit more obstacles this year than you did a year ago.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's they play Dallas, next on this next Monday night, I should say. So this is gonna
Sunday.
get Sunday night, I should say. But yeah, this is gonna get very interesting. Because I know that everyone said, well, now Dallas has a shot to win the division. Look, the Eagles kind of got to them in their first meeting, so we'll see. This a different story in this next meeting that got coming up on next Sunday night. But I mean, look, I think if you're the Eagles, you may not be. I don't know if you should press the panic button just yet. I think the 49ers is a better team than you right now. But at the same time, though, you may want to, the defense has been giving us some giving up plays, especially, they pressured, I'm talking about the San Francisco defense, they pressured Jalen Hurts a lot, forced him not to, forcing the sacks, forcing, punts and stuff. So, and the 49ers just dominate. I mean, Debo also had a rushing touchdown. He had 3 total touchdowns. So, this is something that the 49ers, this could be one of those games where if it comes down between the two for that tiebreaker for that one seed in the NFC, they may be able to sneak in there and get up top of the 49ers.
Yes, and the 49ers did send that message yesterday, as you mentioned. I want to talk about the ejection real quick, Lakina. The linebacker for the 49ers, Greenlaw, and the Eagles head of security. I saw the tape again during our commercial break. The head of security for the Philadelphia Eagles, he touched Greenlaw, but you're not supposed to do that. And Greenlaw then responded with a fist, headed towards his face. And then, of course, the ref saw that, and both of them got ejected. Lakina, thank goodness nothing else happened after, or else it could have been worse. But I thought that it came out for tackle. Devontae Smith was tackled. I forgot who tackled him, but I didn't think it was a dirty hit. He was still in bounds. And if, like I said, Philadelphia took over the game, in my opinion, from the second quarter on. But I think this was more out of frustration for Philadelphia, to be honest with you. The head of security, you're supposed to protect the players and the people on the sideline. You're not supposed to be involved in the game. No one came to see you being involved in the game. Sorry.
Yeah, apparently, his name is Big Dom that they call him. He's been, the security gear for almost since that stadium was built. So,
Go figure.
But even at the same time, though, like you said, I mean, yeah, of course, Greenlaw. It's silly that Greenlaw got ejected, but you're not supposed to put your hands on the security guard. But also, too, remember, if you guys saw the replay, he touched him first, so he was just retaliating. So I'm glad they went back to
Greenlaw retaliated. Yeah.
Yes. So that's probably why. And then they had to, I guess they had to reassess it. They looked at the video, and that's, of course, how the security guard, Big Dom, got ejected. So, I know he was trying to give him a spark, but you just don't do that. So I think that was just dumb on their part. I know Kyle Shanahan went nuts, but his team ended up having the last lap and dominated the rest of that game. So I guess that kind of it woke up somebody, that little sequence there, but it was the 49ers, not the Eagles.
Yep.
As
you always say, Lakina, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Hey, that's the saying goes. So there you go. Let's go to Lambeau. Go to Lambeau for a second, and somewhat surprising, I guess, if you think about it. The Packers beat Kansas City 27-19. This is a crazy game, basically from start to finish. Pat Mahomes on a losing effort for the Chiefs, threw for 210 yards and the TD. Isaiah Pacheco had 110 rushing yards and a TD. But on the flip side, Jordan Love threw for 267 yards and 3 TDs. AJ Dillon made some key rushes to get the keep drives going for them. Rushed for 73 yards. Romeo Dobbs had 72 receiving yards. Christian Watson, who had to leave the game late in the fourth with that hamstring that's been bothering him all year. But even still, he was able to get 2 TDs. But it was a defense for the Packers that kind of fought the game for them. They had 3 sacks. They were various tackles. They were the kind of made it stops they need to. Keyshawn Nixon had an interception too. But it was kind of a crazy game. There was, I guess you could say, yes, you said there were some calls on both sides that weren't called or that shouldn't have been called. But the Packers were just a better team, last night.
Isaiah Pacheco got kicked out of the game last night because of a tussle he had with one of the Packers defenders, because the Packers had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, which was got called back. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling, the one-time Packer down with the Chiefs, when he got interfered with when the Chiefs had the last drive of the game, I thought that should have been called pass interference, but it wasn't called. I know the referees want to let the players decide the final outcome, but when there's an obvious pass interference, which sometimes that rule gets murky in today's NFL, but when it's an obvious pass interference, you better call it, and the referees didn't call it. But the Chiefs, as you mentioned, had their opportunities to win the game. They didn't do it. Jordan Love, as you mentioned, 3 touchdown passes overall. You can start to see that he's starting to gain more confidence within himself and his teammates around him. It's just that the Green Bay has to have a consistent running game to go along with it, and they don't have that just yet. So the Chiefs, we talked about this all year, Lakina. They miss the Eric Bieniemy, who's with Washington now, and they don't have a consistent rushing game. I know Pacheco had over 100 yards in a TD last night before he got kicked out the game, but their running game has been hit and miss all year. Travis Kelce, who only had 81 total receiving yards, he's the number 1 target, but they don't have that number 1 stud wide receiver. They got away with it last year, but this year, not so much there. The Kansas City sitting 8-4. Is trouble coming for them? I don't know, but they don't look right now. Now, the Packers, as we talked about with the Rams earlier, they're sitting pretty good right in the middle of that NFC wildcard race at 6-6.
Yeah, that defense for Green Bay. I mean, look, we talked about Nixon. We talked about Jonathan Owens, of course, who's now become more known as yes, he's Simone Biles because he's actually a pretty good, solid defender on the rise. So they've got a lot of great guys on that defensive front, the front especially. Ballantyne, Corey Ballantyne. Like I said, these are young guys, so they're not household names just yet. But they've been, look, to their credit though. Look, they beat Detroit in Thanksgiving. Now they've beaten the Chiefs. They're 6-6, and also too now you can call, I guess you can call Matt LaFleur Mr. December because check this. Check this out. Sid, hold on, if I can get this thing up for a second. If this thing wants to cooperate, this thing doesn't want to cooperate, of course. But okay, here we go. But Matt LaFleur is now. I want to make sure I get this right because he's now undefeated since he became head coach of the Packers in December. Like 16-0 or something like that. In December, so that's a good omen if you're Green Bay. So and of course they got a pretty, I don't want to say easy schedule, but it's pretty favorable for them these last 5 games. So they could definitely be. I don't know if they'll be able to compete in the North. They do play Detroit the last couple of games of the season, but they could definitely make a case for themselves being in the playoffs.
Yeah, but something tells me that those couple of losses, especially early in the year to Detroit, and had another close loss against Pittsburgh, those 2 would have been wins. They would be sitting much better position for the playoff chase right now. But don't forget they wrap up the season hosting Chicago as well, so we don't know how that's going to turn out. But yeah, Green Bay sitting pretty right now at 6-6. They are 4-2 in Lambeau. It's all about Jordan Love and continue to improve every week, and he's gaining more confidence as the season goes along. It's just all we got to get a healthy running back or whoever that may be, and to help him out. But like I said, we'll see as we are now into the final full month of the regular season.
All right, we'll see what happens there. So Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, with you. Okay, Sid, studs and duds, go for it.
Let's go back to last Thursday night's game between the Seahawks and the Cowboys. DK Metcalf, 6 catches, 134 yards, and 3 TDs, even though the Seahawks came up short. 41-35 in Dallas. My second stud would be Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts. 11 catches, 105 yards in the game-winning score in overtime as the Colts beat the Titans 31-28. And my third stud would be Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. 5 catches, 157 yards, and 2 touchdowns as the Dolphins blow out the Washington Commanders in our nation's capital, 45-15.
All right, no, good ones. And my studs includes the Green Bay, especially that defense. That defense has gotten better and better. They're now at 500. They're now right there in the thick of it in the NFC. So we'll see. They can get even better than that these last 5 games. So we'll see what they can do. I'll say San Francisco, particularly Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and Debo. They all were big stars. When those 3 are healthy, they're really good. So we'll see if they're 9-3, so they're still I think they were like the 2nd or 3rd seed in the NFC. But look, this could be the tiebreaker. This could definitely help them, especially if they Philly stumbles a little bit. They can get right there to think of it in that top seed in the NFC. And my other studs, I'll say Arizona. I mean, Jonathan Gannon's got his guys playing very well. Came cross country despite the weather delays, and they were able to beat Pittsburgh. So I mean, this is gonna be an easy win. I know they play Chicago in a couple of weeks, but this is not gonna be an easy win, as they say. So better look out for Arizona.
All right, my 3 duds are as follows. The entire Chargers-Patriots game, 6-0, go figure. Number 2, the whole Falcons-Jets game, 13-8, give me a bleeping break. And my third dud would be, by default, Russell Wilson. 3 interceptions, despite throwing 2 touchdowns. As the Broncos lose in their last possession of the game, losing to the Texans 22-17.
All right, Kansas City, what's going on? I mean, the offensive struggles, the defense, they've been giving us some big plays as well. So what's going on down there in Kansas City now? They'll have enough to win the AFC West, unless the Chargers go into a run, which I don't see happening. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a look out for them, seriously, right? Philadelphia, again, same thing. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, injuries and lots of wear and tears, and guys are struggling. I'm a little concerned about Philadelphia right now. My other dud, New England. I'll say New England because good grief. They're the first team to lose 3 straight games while allowing 26 or fewer points in total during that streak. That's the most during that streak since the Chicago Cardinals. You got to go only allowed 20 in 3 straight games all the way back in 1938. It looks like maybe Coach Belichick might be getting, as our late friend Lamont Scott would say, might be getting his pink slip in his late card coming up at the end of the season, but we'll see.
Yeah, you thought his first year with the team was bad. Almost 22 years ago in 2000, it was bad, which that team finished 5-11, by the way. Yeah, this is worse.
Totally worse. So yeah, not looking good right now for. I think that they lost Stevenson there for a few weeks too. So Ramondre Stevenson was one of the few good players. So yeah, not looking good in Foxborough right now. But yeah, just absolutely brutal. Of course, the Monday night game, Cincinnati and Jacksonville. That'll be simulcast on ABC, ESPN, and a Manicast. So you guys hit that up. Should be a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking for Trevor Lawrence to have a big game for the Jaguars tonight. My guy, Travis Etienne, the Jaguars star running back, I'm looking forward to him having a big game tonight as well. Of course, Cincinnati's out. They are without their starting quarterback, Joe Burrow, who's done for the year. And for the Jaguars to be considered one of the top teams in the AFC, they must take care of business tonight against a lesser opponent in Cincinnati.
Could be very interesting. This is Jacksonville's shot to control the AFC style, especially when you got both the Colts and the Texans kind of nipping at their heels. So yeah, if you want to try to put some distance between those two, win this game tonight against Cincinnati as you should. So that should be to see what happens in that game tonight. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up as you listen to Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. We'll talk about the college football playoff. I know Sid and I both have some interesting little things to say about that. Also, the rest of some of the top bowl games coming up in bowl season. Also, too, of course, the Bulls have won 2 in a row. Yay! And the rest of the NBA. A new Hall of Fame. We already have our first person in the Hall of Fame. Also, the baseball winter meetings and a whole lot more old school TV Monday. So we got a lot to do still in the second hour coming up with Second City Sports. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. We go to the College Ground coming up right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Solve it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Monday edition. We're live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my kid McGee on the Twitter, X, at Kids Again. The IG easy for me to say.
We have less than 55 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk radio show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, Sid. Championship Saturday commence this weekend in college football. We'll start on Friday with Washington beating Oregon again, and pretty, I don't want to say dominant, but yeah, I guess you could kind of say they did sort of dominate Oregon in that game, and I kind of feel like there was no. I felt like. I picked Oregon. I feel really bad about that. I think Washington kind of took that to heart, that because I'm sure they saw that a lot of people were picking Oregon.
Washington.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, look, good for Michael Penix Jr., who threw for 3 TDs, and I mean, look at it. They're sending a message that they clinched their first college football playoff spot since 2016, and this might be even this team might actually be better than the 2016 team because they're more battle tested.
Yeah, and let's look at that last offensive possession for Oregon. I think we talked about this last Friday, looking at as we previewed the game. It was going to come down. We said it was going to come down to the better performance between Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix, but it was going to come down to that defense of the Washington Huskies. Can they force Bo Nix to make a couple of mistakes like they did early in the year, in early October, back in Washington? And they stopped Bo Nix, and they carried on for the victory. But I want to talk about Dylan Johnson, the Husky star running back, Lakina. They gave him the rock 28 times for 152 yards and 2 scores, and also to Jalen McMillan, I should say, their star wide receiver. He had 9 catches for 131 yards. He came up huge as well when they needed the most.
Yeah, Dylan just also had a TD pass, the Wildcat style TD pass.
Mm-hmm.
Nice showing by him. Michael Penix threw for 319 yards in a TD. But I think there are some people say maybe he should have the Heisman. He kind of won the Heisman with that performance, even though he only threw for a TD. But I think for me, I think Washington kind of show you that they're now 13-0. That's the most wins it got. Even the team that won the national championship all the way back in 1991, they only won 12. They only played 12 games. They went 12-0. So this could be. I don't know if they're as good as that team, but they're definitely enough talent in that team to kind of get it going there. And they're we'll talk about the college football playoff in a second here, but Liberty, congrats to them. They go undefeated as well, 13-0. They beat New Mexico State in the Conference USA Championship, their first one since joining the conference, 45-39. They get into a New Year's Six bowl game. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, this kind of started all the chaos. Alabama beat Georgia 27-24 to win the SEC championship. Georgia scored in that first opening drive. They scored a TD. You thought that maybe, okay, this might be a blowout. Not so fast. Georgia just couldn't get it going on offense for the most part. You give Alabama credit, but I'm not gonna say this is the Alabama. I know everyone's gonna be caping for this Alabama team, but let's remember this is Alabama team that needed a 4th and 31 to get even be in this position. So we can blame Auburn for that, and Georgia didn't take care of business like they should have. Jalen Moreau threw for 192 yards and 2 TDs. Rondell Williams, I should say, had a rushing TD. It was really the defense for Alabama that kind of slowed the Bulldogs down, and they were able to win the SEC championship again.
Yeah, shout out to Alabama. They earned that victory as far as that particular game is concerned. Like I said, Jalen Moreau came up big. But what did I tell you last Friday, Lakina, about Georgia? It was going to come down to Carson Beck. I expected him to have a big game. He didn't do it. Georgia's rushing attack, where were they, Lakina? Unless I missed something. I know I took a nap in the middle of the game, but that part was on me. But still, I did see a rushing attack from Georgia. And number 2, they had their first turnover all season at their own 20-yard line. I think that's what really broke the game over for Alabama. They took advantage. They went ahead and scored a touchdown, and they didn't look back. As Alabama put up 2 touchdowns quick before the halftime before the halftime break. I thought that was the key there. And Georgia had their chances to catch up. I know they put up 2 touchdowns late, but you knew that Alabama had control from the end of the first half on.
Yeah, and that was that started the chaos. So but it is what it is. Okay. I'll get to that in a second because I got a bone to pick with that playoff committee, but it's a different. Let's get to the rest of these games on Saturday. Michigan, as we thought, dominated Iowa 26-0. Their 3rd straight Big Ten title. They haven't done that since the early 90s, back in 1992. Again, not the flashiest performance, but the old Iowa, the defense, to their credit, they kept, them, and I'm talking about Iowa's defense, but Michigan was just too much for them offensively. 147 yards for JJ McCarthy. Again, not the flashiest performance. Big Florham had 2 TDs. Remember, he couldn't play this game because he tore his ACL in the Ohio State game last year. Well, actually, a couple games before that. But yeah, Iowa couldn't get going on offense. Michigan was able to take advantage.
Yeah, it was all about Michigan's defense. As we said on Friday, don't let J.J. McCarthy and Blake Borm get off on offensively. If they did, it was going to be it was going to be a long night for them. But it was about the Wolverines' defense that set the tempo early, and like we said, Michigan, you didn't have to put the pressure on them offensively. And so Michigan controlled the tempo, and they walked away with the shutout victory. Now they're going to get ready to play Alabama on New Year's Day in a college football playoff. We'll get more into that as the days get closer. But Michigan's defense has set the tone all year. Of course, let's not forget it was head coach Jim Harbaugh's return to the sidelines. As we said on Friday, they'll be pumped up for that. You saw that once the game got started, and they took advantage from there.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I know everyone say, "Oh well, oh my God, they gassed when they saw they're playing Alabama." Look, this is the same Alabama team that that lost to almost lost to South Florida early in the year. I mentioned that 4 for 31 that they had to do to pass a 500 Auburn team. So yeah, have they gotten better? Yes, but I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh my God, they're going to blow Michigan out of the water in Pasadena." I'm not going to say that. So like I said, we'll get to all that as it gets closer and closer. But yeah, I mean, look, Michigan, looked really good. Look, there's good. They're gonna, do the whole us against the world mentality. Look, if that works for them, fine. I'm sure they're gonna do that these next few weeks as it gets closer and closer to a matchup against Alabama. Let's go to Charlotte for the ACC championship. Florida State beat Louisville 16-6. I mean, look. Well, okay. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, ACC championship. They did their first ACC titles, I think, since like 2017. Again, the defense for Florida State. This is one of the tops in the country. But let's also remember, if Jack Plummer hadn't thrown that interception in the red zone, who knows what would have happened? It was only 13-6 by then. Who knows what would have happened had they had scored a touchdown or even got a field goal? They could have kept it close, but this is one of the reasons why Florida State is not going to the playoff. We'll get to more on that in a second, but you'll get Grass and Mike Norvell and that crew for winning the ACC title. Now let's go to real quick, finish it up here. The Big 12. Texas win their second Big 12 title in this iteration. The last time they dominated Texas 49 to. I mean, they dominated Oklahoma State. I should say 49-21. Quinn Ewers broke all kinds of records. I'll get to them in a second. For the Big 12 title game. But yeah, it was all Texas. 2 for 4 TDs. Talking about Ewers, 452 yards. Killian Robinson had 2 rushing TDs for Texas. Adonai Mitchell and Jatavion Sanders each had a TD catch and over 100 yards receiving. So yeah, they basically dominated Oklahoma State, and they kept Ollie Gordon the second, who was one of the top rushers in the country, to only 34 rushing yards. So it was really their defense that kind of set the tone there.
We said on Friday show that this was going to be a pressure situation game for Texas because it was in their backyard in the neutral site at Jerry's World, just outside of Dallas, Texas. And they took control right from the start, putting up a 21-piece in the first quarter. The game was already over at halftime. I had the game on, but you knew that the way Texas came out offensively, that this game was going to be over, and their defense did set the tone from the second half on. But a couple of things here. Texas, with that blowout win, they sent the message to the committee and by saying, well, we're one of the top 4 teams in the country, and we took care of business winning our conference. So you cannot deny us a spot in a college football playoff, and that's what they did. And number 2, where did Nelly come from? I saw him performing at halftime, wearing those white Jordan 3s. I'm not going to seriously say he was one of my favorite artists because he wasn't, but I was like, he came out of nowhere. But hey, if someone's going to pay you a whole lot of money to perform, hey, I'll do it too.
And in their crowd, I mean, that crowd was getting into it. I saw a couple of Oklahoma State fans.
Yeah.
They were dancing along, well, not well, but they were dancing along for credit for, and the band was out there. Both the teams' bands were out there. So, yeah, they were getting into it. So, yeah, look, I mean, hey, look, Nelly, get that bag. I ain't mad at him. That was totally random. But, yeah, look, I'm not mad at him for getting that bag. It's Texas' 4th Big 12 title, and their first since 2009. So that's a little bit crazy. This is their first Big 12 title since 2009, but they had this is their 4th. They lead the Big 12 on top. Of course, they're going to SEC next year. And in the American SMU win their first American athletic championship, they upset Tulane 26-14, giving them their second loss of the season.
Yeah, congrats to Southern Methodist University on winning their title. The only thing I know about that school, Lakita, is 2 things. One, the former, I think he's in the Hall of Fame. He's not, he should be, but in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He should be. But Larry Brown coached there a few years ago, and most people forgot. And number two, remember Eric Dickerson in that crew back in the early 80s? They took money, and then the NCAA gave him the hammer. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, check out the 30 for 30 special. And I forgot what it was called. The title of
Pony
it
Excess.
was
Pony Excess. They
Express,
showed at least they showed at least like once a month or something. So check it out. I'm sure it's on YouTube as well. So but
I feel like Eric Dickerson, you're happy, but we didn't have conference title games back in our day, and what we did is like what they do now. Just the difference is legal.
Yeah, exactly. So the NILs. Look, we'll get to all that in a little bit, but let's talk about the college football playoff and some of these New York Six games real quick. Michigan will face Alabama in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, while Washington and Texas will face off in the All-State Sugar Bowl as in New Orleans. Both games will be on January 1st on Monday. But yeah, I mean, of course, the championship will be played in Houston on January 8th. But okay, look, I'll keep this short and sweet because I don't want to go into a long tangent here. But for all the Florida State fans who are bitching about them not getting it, despite they went undefeated, they won the conference title. But look, like I said, if Jack Plummer had not intercepted that ball, their defense had intercepted Jack Plummer, they were in the red zone. Who knows what game would have happened after that? And you did not dominate. Yeah, you kept Louisville under 300 total yards, but you didn't do it yourself. So you didn't look good those last couple of weeks, when Jordan Travis got hurt. Look, I know Danny Cannell and EJ Manuel, both from former Florida State QBs. I know they're gonna cap for them. We got some buddies out there, down there in that area who are capping for them. But look, sometimes it is about the eye test. And if you want to go by the eye test, Florida State did not look like the best four teams. And look, I'll say Alabama didn't do either, but that's a whole different conversation. But Florida State did not look like the best four teams in the country. If that's a big part about it, the best four, okay. Florida State wasn't one of them. Sorry.
Let me rebuttal to that. You said the same thing about Washington, but Washington did what Florida State did by winning their conference title game. Yes, you have obstacles that you throw to, all teams do, but Florida State, even though they didn't look their greatest either, they did what they had to do. They won the game. What you did is what Herm Edwards said. You played to win the game. They played the game. They won it, and they won their conference title. Now, Alabama, as we talked about over the last month or so, Lakina, they did improve, especially with their quarterback, Jalen Monroe. You had to give them credit for that. But Alabama was not one of the four best teams in the country from start to finish. Texas showed you why earlier in the season. I thought it was going to come down to Alabama or Texas to get into the college football playoff. But after what Georgia did, that argument was null and void. But I thought initially that Florida State should be in the college football playoff. I said this to our group chat with the crew over at with that war meeting with the old Dean Davis crew. If they wanted to pick the four best teams in the country, Florida State, yes, they don't have their top two quarterbacks, but if they wanted to pick the best four teams in the country, they would have picked Florida State. But you know this as well as I do, Lakina. We say this every year when we talk about college basketball and March Madness. They put certain teams in certain brackets so people can watch and have potential matchups, not only in the first round, but other rounds going forward. The committee picked the TV show yesterday. I know you're in the business. We're all in the business to make money. I get it. But they picked Alabama to be a TV because they want people to watch. Of course, we have to watch it because of what we do here. But the committee did not get it right. Florida State should be in. They picked Alabama because they want to put on the TV show. I get it. Part of it is entertainment as well. But if you want the four best teams are not in there. Alabama's in there because the committee wants everybody to watch a TV show. I want to watch the best teams play. It's not always all the time about a TV show. Yes, entertainment is part of it, but entertainment doesn't dominate everything all the time.
All right, can I piggyback on that though? But they had a down year. They did. I mean, Clemson, they got it going, later on, but they didn't have a good start to early in the season. Louisville, look, if Louisville had beaten Kentucky, the week before, and if they beaten, if they done this in performance, and if this was like a slugfest and they won, maybe Florida State would have gotten in. But again, the Pac-12 was actually overall really good. Arizona had their best season in years. Of course, Utah was good. Wazoo, Oregon State. in that final iteration of the Pac-12. I mean, that was a tough moment there because the Pac-12 that pretty much is it for the Pac-12 as we know it. But yeah, I mean, look, I said Michael Rose of Washington, but Washington had a better schedule in the Pac-12, and the teams were better in the Pac-12. So yeah, they were able to slug it out and beat those teams. Yeah, they were close. They beat Oregon twice. Yes, they beat USC. Yes, they had to slug it out against Arizona. Yes, they had to. Yes, it was close with for at least for a little bit with Wazoo and they're the Apple Cup. But again, they didn't lose their top guys. Michael Pitts is probably a little bit banged up. He'll have a little bit of time to heal up, but he was still, look, that leadership and whatever. But so yeah, I mean, look, I knew when Jordan Travis got hurt for Florida State, that was a wrap. They were if they had dominated Florida and had dominated Louisville, or if Louisville, would have beaten Kentucky, and that kind of game happened, maybe they would have let him in. But I can tell you right now, and I said this on Twitter on Saturday after even before the SEC championship started, they're going to find a way to get Bama in there, and that's what they did. I don't think Bama's one of the 4 top best teams in the country. I don't think so, but it is what it is. And also too, once this thing gets expanded to 12, you're going to have the same problem. Someone said, well, look, this is how we look at the top 12 with the 12 best teams. Well, hey, look, Oklahoma said, hey, wait a minute. We beat Texas. How come we didn't get in and whatever? So you're going to have the same issue, when it expands to 12 next year. So, it's like everybody, everyone's not going to be happy. So I think for me, this whole thing was just silly from the get-go. And I really feel like this was one of those things where politics, I think, got the best of it, but at the same time, though, in a different form.
Yeah, and also too, I saw a few comments on the Twitter X machine yesterday. Someone was trying to make a case for Ohio State. I was like, no, Ohio State blew when they lost to Michigan a couple of weeks ago. So no soup for you. In Georgia, they can't blame nobody but themselves. And I saw their strength of schedule. Yeah, and you lost to Alabama. Yeah, now I know why you're out. Your strength of schedule, I'm talking about Georgia, is stunk from hell to high heaven, okay? Your biggest win is against Ole Miss? Really? And they had a couple of chances to get knocked off. I know Missouri came close in one of those games. I forgot the other team came close to knocking them off. But their strength of schedule, I'm talking about Georgia's like, really? Really? Now, they can't blame, just like Ohio State, they can't blame nobody but themselves either.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Penn State, game, that was their best win, but, you lost, you beat Notre Dame, but they didn't have a good finish either. I'm talking about Notre Dame. So for me, I just think that the whole thing is just kind of silly, and I don't know. I mean, look, it'll be interesting to see how this goes with the 12-team playoff. But like I said, you're gonna have these same problems. So you're not gonna, I don't think you're gonna, be able to, eliminate all this stuff. But it is what it is now. The rest of these bowls, the New Year's Six, well, also New Year's Six. Mizzou, the Fighting Mike Bermans, as we call them here, they play Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. That'll be on Friday, December 29th. The Peach Bowl, you got Ole Miss and Penn State. Speaking of Ole Miss and Penn State, you got the Capital One Orange Bowl. Listen, this is going to be these Who Wants to Be Here Bowl, as I call this. Georgia and Florida State. That'll be on Saturday the 30th. Also, the Peach Bowl will also be on the 30th. On ESPN. That'll be after the Peach Bowl at 3 o'clock our time. And
yeah, just one comment on that game. Just one comment on that game, Lakina. I thought Sam Acho, former Chicago Bear, NFL veteran, he's working for ESPN now. And I did watch some of their wrap-up shows yesterday. I think he brought up a good point regarding that Georgia-Florida State game. He says both those teams don't want to be there. Both of them feel like they should be in the college football playoff, more so Florida State than Georgia. But he said this, and I quote, Georgia, they're not playing for the national championship this year, but can they get themselves motivated to go out and play their best like it's a national championship game? We already know that Florida State is going to have a chip on their shoulder. Can Georgia be motivated to go out and play their best game and give it their best?
Well, that'll be up to Kirby Smart to make sure his guys are ready for that. That'll be interesting. The Fiesta Bowl, the last one, and that'll be on the 1st of January. You got Liberty and Oregon. If you're Oregon, I probably take this as an insult. Like, Liberty, really? Look, I'm not going to say the Liberty. Look, I'm not going to sit there and say Oregon is going to blow out Liberty. But if you're Oregon, you're thinking, wait a second, we could have went to the Orange Bowl, but I guess geographically, this is gonna be in Glendale, Arizona. They're gonna play where the Cardinals play. So I guess if you're distance wise, it might be better. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure Dan Lynn will have his guys ready and say, hey, look, don't take this team lightly. It's actually a pretty solid Liberty team. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, Notre Dame did not get into the because usually that spot, the outside the Power 5 spot is reserved for Notre Dame. But nope, they took Liberty.
Yeah, Notre Dame, as you mentioned, they'll play in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. They'll host Oregon State, and that's on Friday, December 29th. That's at 1 o'clock Chicago time on CBS. Notre Dame opens up as a 10.5-point favorite. Looking at the rest of the schedule for the around the New Year's Eve weekend games, the Music City Bowl should be interesting. Auburn versus Maryland. As you mentioned in the Peach Bowl, you had Penn State versus Ole Miss. I think that's going to be a very good one. Also, too, the New Year's Day games, Wisconsin versus LSU in the Realia Quest Bowl. And, of course, the Citrus Bowl, Tennessee versus Iowa. I think that's going to be a slugfest in that one. And, of course, you have the two. On that
one.
Yeah, what's up?
Titty under on that game.
Yeah. And, of course, you have the two college football playoff games to wrap up the day on New Year's Day with Alabama and Michigan and Texas and Washington. I think Texas and Washington, even though they're getting the primetime treatment, I thought it should be the other way around. But
yeah, I was a little surprised. Yeah, I was a little surprised
that
was. I was a little surprised that was that they didn't make Michigan and Alabama the late game, for TV purposes. But I guess they figured, hey, you know what, Texas and Washington, look, Washington, both of them are historic programs, so I guess maybe they thought, let's switch it up a little bit. But okay. You got LA and the LA Bowl. You got UCLA and Boise State. That'll be on December 17th. Let me see here. Okay. Northwest is playing Utah. I gotta figure out what bowl that is. It just didn't look well. Oh, it's in the Las Vegas Bowl. That'll be on December 23rd, right before Christmas Eve. So yeah, a nice show by Dave Braun in that program. I mean, I don't think anybody. We'll see if they can hang in there with Utah. That's going to be interesting. There. One more. Okay, the Holiday Bowl. You got Louisville and USC. Do you think Caleb Williams plays in this game? There are some people that say they shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't. No, he will not, because this is not a college football playoff game. And number two, he has to get ready for the NFL draft. These schools look at you as a business until you get injured, and they don't give a damn about you anymore. Caleb Williams should look at himself as the same way. I'm protecting myself. I'm going to the next level. Thank you for your time. I did what I had to do during my 3 years, whatever there. Peace out.
All right, let's see if he, that's going to be a direct TV. That'll be on the 27th of December. Also, you got the Duke's Mayo Bowl. So either either Mac Brown or Neil Brown, no relation, will be gained up with Mayo. We'll see if they keep up that tradition. That'll be hilarious. Texas A&M and Oklahoma State. That should be interesting. There, the Texas Bowl also on the 28th, 27th, I should say. The 28th, you got the Pinstripe Bowl as Rutgers face Miami, and that's about it. I mean, the Alamo Bowl, you got Arizona, Oklahoma. That should be a fun one. The Gator Bowl, you got Clemson, Kentucky. And speaking of Notre Dame, you mentioned the Sun Bowl, Memphis and Iowa State in the Liberty Bowl in that same day on the 29th. And that's about it. That's about it. So so very interesting bowl matchups here in these next few games as bowl season starts in a couple weeks.
Yeah, just a couple of interesting lines here with the Alamo Bowl, Arizona, Oklahoma. The over-under total is 63.5. I expect that to go over. In your early lines for the college football playoff, Michigan is favored by 1.5 over Alabama. In Texas is favored as of right now by 4 over Washington.
I'm sure those lines will probably change as we go on. It's probably going to flip. It might flip in one case. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, we'll try to get somebody on to help preview these games for us and a whole lot more. But college football season. We'll see the awards. We'll see. I think we'll find. This weekend as to who wins the Heisman, or at the very least who are going to be the finalists for the Heisman. But and a whole lot more. So we got to take a really quick break, of course. The Bulls win 2 in a row. Yay! And also to the rest of the weekend, the NBA. Baseball winter meetings is it's going on right now. Will it be some breaking news coming up on both sides of town? We'll see. And a whole lot more. Old School TV Monday if we got time. So Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Sexy Sports on Sports of Chicago. NBA, baseball, more coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Monday edition. We're live in Living Color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, I can't scream again, IG.
We have less than a half hour left or so of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any last minute questions or comments for us? You can always find us at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, Sid. Let's do some NBA talk this weekend. We gotta do this kind of sort of like rapid fire. The Bulls have won 2 in a row. Yay! I don't think
the Bulls.
Oh my gosh! I think our buddy Cheryl Race that even said this is the first. This is the first time that a Chicago team has won like back to back since like September or something like that. So that's go figure with that. I guess small victories, I guess, for us here in Chicago. But I have to say, So for me, I think this team actually looks better without. I don't want to say that they look better without Zach. That they kind of are looking a little bit better without Zach. Zach LaVine, I should say. But yeah, they were able to beat New Orleans 124-118. Kobe Bryant had a career high 31 points. and they were high flying. They had Io had a alley to P Will, and you're like, wait, but why the hell was this early in the season? 24 points for DeMar DeRozan leading the way there after that. Vooch, struggled for a little bit from the field, but he made some key blocks late in that game. But yeah, I mean, also Torrey Craig had 15 points off the bench for the Bulls. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm not gonna sit here and say they're gonna go on a run, win 10 in a row, but at least these last couple of games, they looked really good. And as our buddy Big Dave Watson says all the time, they look competent. They're competent. They look competent now.
Here's the thing, Lakina. I'm gonna go to the front office first. If you are tourist kind of chauvinist and you're a GM Mark Eversley, you're paying attention to these last two games, and you just said they look better without Zach LaVine. Yes, they beat the top team in the East, arguably in Milwaukee, and you beat perhaps a playoff team. Everything stays healthy with the New Orleans Pelicans. You did it without Zach LaVine. These last two games are pretty much, I think, if you're a smart Bulls fan, if you're management, you can say, okay, they played better without Zach LaVine because we all know what his game is. He's very electric offensively. And when you give him and DeMar DeRozan the ball, they can hog the ball, okay? As we said for the last couple of years, Lakina, for this Bulls team to be better offensively, they have to move the basketball. What have they been doing the last two games? Moving the basketball. They had 32 assists as a team again on Saturday night. They shot 42% from three. DeMar DeRozan, I know, returned, but he wasn't stalling the offensive flow. If you're AK and Mark Eversley, what player or players can get in here to fill in Zach LaVine's spot and not have their game be like what Zach LaVine's game is in terms of offensively? Because you need to have players that fit the system. Zach LaVine, this is the system that the Bulls are running. I think we can agree the Bulls are running this system. This is their system they want to run. If this is the system they want to run, clearly Zach LaVine doesn't belong on this team. And so what players are going to fill his spot so you can play within the flow of the team?
Yeah, this is gonna get very interesting in that front. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what this team does. They'll play again, until Wednesday against Charlotte, and I'm sure they're gonna want their revenge there. And I know that LiAngelo Ball's not playing right now. I think he's hurt, so they should be able to beat. I'm talking about the bullshit. They should be able to beat the Hornets, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I said, I'm not gonna say they're gonna go to a 10-game run and win 9 of 10 or 10 in a row or something like that. But I think they're showing you why that maybe Zach was the problem. I'm not saying that he was, but it's looking like it that way. I think the eye test shows it. So we'll see what happens there. Now let's talk about the rest of the schedule. Well, we won't go. No, go ahead. Sorry.
But real quick before we move on to the rest of this the schedule. Alex Caruso, his game has really improved as well, not only defensively from the perimeter, but he's shooting the ball well from three-point range, and that should not be ignored. You mentioned about Kobe White scoring a season-high 31 points for him. He's the first Bulls player in franchise history to make 3 or more three-pointers in 8 straight games, and as of Saturday. He's playing very well. We talked about him before the season started. Lakina, I had my questions with him as being the starting point guard. We know he's an electric scorer offensively, and he can shoot the ball with the best of them, but his playmaking ability has been on point. And also, too, Ayo Dosunmu, who's been getting a lot of playing time as well, he's playing like Kendall Gill said the other night following the Milwaukee game. He's playing like that guy that was dominating the ball at the University of Illinois. So let's give those two players credit as well.
Yeah, if you want to build your team around Caruso, I think you should be able to do that. So we'll see what transpires there. Now, interesting weekend in the NBA. Of course, there were no games yesterday, but of course we'll talk a little bit about Saturday's matchups. Now, Phoenix bounced back from a loss to Denver on Friday. They did beat the Grizzlies 116-109 there. Of course, Denver beat Phoenix, but would come back, and lose to Sacramento 123-117. The Lakers had a pretty, had a solid. They beat Houston. Got the revenge there on Houston there. beat them by 10. Utah beat Portland in a good one, 118-113. OKC, I mean, they're starting to kind of show a little bit, something here. They beat Dallas 126-120, and Minnesota, 15-4, I should say, in their first 19 games. That's the best record they've had in franchise history. So looks like maybe Karl Anthony Towns. We talked about them. Anthony Edwards. Chris Finch is making a case. Early case for coach of the year. If Minnesota, I'm not gonna say they're gonna have the best record in the West by the time this is all over. It's still a long ways to play, but at least right now they're looking like probably one of the teams to beat in the Western Conference.
Yeah, as we said last week on the show as well, if they continue to improve and Anthony Edwards continues to play at a high level, he's definitely going to be a top 2, top 3 candidate for MVP. I want to go back to that OKC Dallas game, Lakina. I did watch the majority of that second half of that game live via this computer screen, and Dallas did get back in the game and actually took the lead off a 30-0 run, but OKC had enough, and that Williams kid, he hit a couple of big shots down the stretch. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a couple of big shots down the stretch as well. So Oklahoma City held off Dallas there. I think Dallas is a better team this year, obviously, than they were a year ago, even when they got Kyrie Irving. But as we said before, Lakina, someone's going to have to be that third guy to help out Luka and Kyrie Irving. Now, on the flip side for OKC, they're not going to have to do it as being one of the top 4 teams in the NBA as well. Even despite what's going on with Josh Giddey right now, as Lakina said, Google's your friend. He's still allowed to play, so look it up what's going on with him. But getting back to on the court matters, Oklahoma City, as we said a few weeks ago, they could be this year's Sacramento Kings. And if they can continue to play like this, they're going to be a slight threat come playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, they can avoid any big injuries. I think they could probably definitely still be up there for the top 3 spots in the West. So OKC definitely a team to look out for there now in that little. And we'll go into the East for a second. In that matchup on Friday between the Sixers and the Celtics, the Celtics got the best of Sixers 125-119. Jason Tatum had 21 for Boston, and Pat Bev was actually the leading scorer. No, that's not a typo. 26 points for the Sixers. Some struggles, from the field, from some guys. I know Joel Embiid did not play, so you can take that for what it's worth. That's why Pat Bev had the most points. But you probably say you want to put an asterisk on this game because Embiid didn't play. You can if you want, but at least right now, like I said, I mean, look, Boston, they're 15-4. They got the best record in the East, but yeah, I mean, this is like one of those things where you're kind of like, okay, yeah, they weren't at full strength. I'm talking about the Sixers, they were at full strength.
Yeah, like you say, if you're the Sixers, you just take this game and throw it in the trash. Like you said, Embiid did not play, so I won't put too much emphasis on it if you're a Philadelphia fan. But Boston, as we talked about before, the only concern that I have is even though their rookie Sam House is playing very well right now, I'm concerned about the depth of their bench. I know they got rid of some pieces, including Robert Williams in the offseason. I believe he's with the Dallas Mavericks now. And they got rid of a couple other guys. But I'm more concerned about their bench and their health. I know Porzingis, who hasn't played in the last 4 games, he's supposed to return on Thursday. We'll see what happens with that. But Boston's got it going on right now. Drew Holiday, you mentioned Jason Tatum, possible top candidate once again for MVP. And Jaylen Brown is doing his thing as well. So Boston has it going on right now. Just hoping you can get Porzingis healthy and back in that lineup as soon as possible.
Yeah, we'll see if the Celtics can keep it up. And like I said, I mean, if you're the Sixers, you don't want to go too far into a hole, with Embiid. Hopefully Embiid will be able to play this week. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens with there. And one of the reasons why there was no games yesterday because they're gearing up for the rest of the in-season tournaments. And they actually released posted some of the videos of the medals and the trophies and the game balls, I guess, for the teams who will end up winning. I mean, those are something I said on Twitter. Did you see him, Sid? And if you did, tell me what you think. Tell everyone what you think.
I didn't get a chance to see all of them yet, but I wanted to ask you this question and the rest of our audience out there watching on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Do you really think, Lakina, especially like with the top teams that will be in the tournament, assuming on Thursday, and of course, the game will be next Saturday night on ABC from Las Vegas. The Thursday games and the next Saturday night's game will be from Las Vegas. But do you really think the players really care when it's all said and done? Do you really think they care? I think if you're a team like Minnesota or Orlando, one of those teams, maybe. But if you're a team like Golden State or Phoenix or the Lakers, okay, it's cute, but the NBA championship is more important.
I mean, if the Lakers end up winning it, they are one of the 8 teams that are left. I mean, if they win, I don't know if LeBron's gonna put this on his resume. Maybe, oh, you want to put another in-season tournament? Like, okay, if you're LeBron, like,
for him.
yeah, if you're like, oh, that's nice. I don't know, like he might give it to one of his kids, but I can't picture him this putting this on his Hall of Fame resume. I just don't see that happening. But like I said, if you're an up and coming team, like I said, we'll get to the teams that are vying for this in a second. But yeah, if you're an up and coming team like Minnesota, like Sacramento, I mean, it's gonna, you might be feeling like, yeah, okay. I mean, okay, that might be something you can kind of brag about. I'm sure. I don't know if the fans will worry about it or care, but it'll be interesting though.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. And speaking of the schedule, as we go into it tonight, looking at tonight, Monday, both these games can be seen on TNT and start at 6:00 Chicago time, 6:30, I should say, Chicago time. We'll have the Boston Celtics traveling to Indianapolis to play the Indiana Pacers, who tongue-tied. And of course, your nightcap tonight, we'll have the New Orleans Pelicans visiting Sacramento to take on the Kings. That's at 9:00 Central Standard Time.
All right, that's the first 2 games that quarterfinal, and the second 2 games of that quarterfinal. Both these games will be on ESPN. No, these will both be on TNT. But yeah, you got the Knicks and the Bucks. That's the first game, and you got I'm sure they probably wish that this would have been like the championship matchup or the semifinal matchup, but no, it's a quarterfinal matchup. You got the Suns and the Lakers at 9:00 on TNT. I mean, I don't know if Katie or LeBron would probably care about this, but they're like, okay, whatever. But but yeah, that's your schedule for Tuesday though. So that's why there were no games on yesterday, and now we're only 4 games in these next 2 days. 4 games, 2 games today and 2 games tomorrow. The in-season tournament quarterfinals.
This is the schedule for Wednesday because this is the schedule for everybody else that didn't make the tournament. You will be playing on this night. So here's the schedule for Wednesday. It's a pretty busy one. We mentioned the Chicago Bulls. They'll host the injury-riddled Charlotte Hornets at the UC. Other games for Wednesday, you have Orlando at Cleveland, Memphis at Detroit, Philadelphia at Washington, Miami at Toronto, the Brooklyn Nets at the Atlanta Hawks, San Antonio at Minnesota, Utah at Dallas, Portland at Golden State, and the nightcap on your Wednesday doubleheader on ESPN will feature Minnesota hosting San Antonio at 6:30. Then the nightcap will feature Denver at Los Angeles to take on the Clippers. And congratulations to the Clippers, by the way. Paul George hit the game-winning shot as they overcame a 22-point deficit to beat the Warriors on Saturday. I did watch some of that live.
I did that. I watched that game. Yeah, that was a good comeback by the Clippers there, and they get there. They'll see if they can get their revenge against Denver because both those games, they were very close. They probably should have won maybe one of those games, but hopefully maybe they can get their revenge on Wednesday and Thursday. Now this is going to be very interesting. So let's note this because of the semifinals of the in-season tournament. You're going to be getting a nice little collaboration between Turner and ESPN. So 4:00, whichever game. I'm assuming like the first game. I don't know I haven't seen the brackets, so I don't know how the brackets shake out. It'll be the first game will be on ESPN, and the second semifinal will be on at 8:00 on TNT, or after 30 minutes after the first game on TNT. So in Vegas. So I don't know. We don't know who's going to play just yet because they haven't played those games. But this is how the bit schedule set up for you for the in-season tournament.
Yeah, like I said, we'll have a lot to talk about on Friday, Lakina. It's going to be Michael Wilbon, Screaming A. Smith, and Charles Barkley. Oh, you need ear muffs, possibly some boxing gloves, and an ambulance outside. I'm just saying.
Oh God! Oh Jesus! I'm gonna have to watch those games on mute, but I guess look, they're sharing the TV rights for this, so okay, you figured this was gonna happen, so it's fine. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting who ends up being the Final Four going to Vegas. So yeah, but at least if you're the Bulls, you get to chill for a couple of days, and after that, after your games, Charlotte get to chill for a couple more days. So. This might actually end up being better for them and for the other teams that didn't advance as well.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. All right, Lakina, this is day one of the baseball winter meetings 2023 style. Everybody and anybody and everybody from the baseball world is hanging out in Nashville, Tennessee. That's where the winter meetings are taking place. Lakina, let's start out locally here in Chicago. The Cubs have been linked to Shohei Ohtani, but I don't know if they're serious serious enough to go get him. We'll see what happens with them. Of course, on the other side of town, the south side, the Dillasies may be on the move. The Dodgers, the Baltimore Orioles, the Atlanta Braves are among the few teams that are interested in his services. Eloy Jimenez could be the next one on the move as well, due to his lack of him staying healthy, his commitment to staying healthy, among other issues with him. Lakina, does Dillasies get moved by the time we come back on these airways on Friday?
I don't know if you're Chris Getz, if you see a deal where either, I guess with the Braves or somebody else, if they, they say, hey, we'll give you one of our top prospects, for Cease. I can't picture him, saying no to that. I don't know if he's gonna get traded. Yeah, I think Eloy gets traded before Cease does. Cause I think you get a little bit of a better return from Eloy. Well, maybe
Agree
not a
with you
better
too.
return. Yeah, maybe not a better return, but then you could probably get maybe a top 2 or top 3 prospect. CC may have to wait till, especially the team, we're assuming the team doesn't contend this year, till maybe after the trade deadline, before the trade deadline next season. So that might play a little bit of a factor here. So yeah, I think one of those guys will be gone, but I think it's gonna be Eloy more than Cease.
I'm with you, Lakina. We talked about this before a couple of weeks ago that Chris Getz has I'm not going to say a problem on his hands, but the Sox organization, in particular, Jerry Reinsdorf, doesn't like to pay pitchers long-term money. And I know he has his reasons why. Any free agent is a risk, so not just starting pitchers. But with the Dillasies, I know he had a down year last year, even though he almost finished his personal record at 500. I think it was one game below 500, 8 and 9. But remember what happened last year at the trade deadline? That, of course, when Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn were here, they had a deal with Baltimore, but I guess they were trying to get squeeze a little bit more out of them than they wanted to. And, of course, the deal did not fall through at the last second. So Dillasies did not end up going to Baltimore. But I think, like you said, Lakina, if you're Chris Getz, he's a new, fresh set of eyes. I know he's Reinsdorf's guy and all, but you have to play this smart. If you're not gonna, don't overplay your hand and don't overrate yourself, because as we say all the time, Lakina, you know this as well as I do. All the other scouts and general managers, they watch the same things that we watch, okay? And if you try to overvalue yourself, you're gonna get caught red-handed. So, like you said, Chris Getz has to play this carefully. He has to play it smart. And if he does that, I think he will get the right deal for Cease. I don't know. If I'll say this right now, I'm with you. I don't think we're going to talk about a Dylan Cease trade when we come back on here on Friday, but he has to play this smart. He has to play this smart, and hate to say, if you don't get the right deal, you have no choice but to play the long game. So I think if I had to make a prediction, I think you'll have to wait to the trade deadline in 2024. Because teams would be more desperate then, and I think you can get a little bit more out of it if you play it smart. Now, Dylan Cease obviously has to stay healthy to do his part as well. But right now, I don't see Dylan. I'm not saying that he can't get traded. Obviously, anything can happen. But if I had to put some money on it, I think like you said, Eloy Jimenez would be the next one to go before Cease does.
All right. What about Shohei Ohtani? You think we're gonna have you may have he'll have a new team coming up by the time we get back. I mean, apparently now the Braves are in the mix, which are like, you got to be freaking kidding me, for the love of everything. Toronto, I don't know how serious Toronto is. I can kind of see why he want to go to Toronto. It's a little more laid back. They don't put the pressure on you as much as Chicago and New York, and even Atlanta to some extent. So I don't know, if you're Shohei, what is going to be your top priority here?
How close can he fly to see his family? Because I know that Seattle and San Francisco were mentioned as well. And I don't think they're serious contenders, but then again, you never know. But I still have my eye on the Dodgers because let's be real here, Lakina. Even though he's not going to pitch next year, I'm talking about Ohtani, but you can still bring that marketing money. I know that the pressure is going to be on him, but you still bring in marketing money with him because the Dodgers are a bigger brand than the Anaheim Angels. No shade to any Angels fans that are listening and watching this, but the Dodgers are a winning organization. They're not just a national brand, they're a worldwide brand. And part of this is going to be about marketing as well. And him, talking about Ohtani being the best player, generational player in baseball today, and being with that brand with the Dodgers. He still can be close to home to see his family. That's going to work out well for him. Now, I know people throughout the Yankees. I get it. They're a bigger brand than the Dodgers, but if you're showing on time, there'll be more pressure on him playing New York than it is Los Angeles. At least he had a taste of it with the Angels, even though the Angels haven't really done anything outside of going to the playoffs in 2014 with Mike Trout. But the pressure would be that much more bigger if Ohtani went to the Yankees. But I still have the Dodgers as the number one team to land Ohtani.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if that gets settled there. So we'll see what happens there. Also, congrats to Jim Leland. Two times World Series champion manager, has been named to the Baseball Hall of Fame through the Veterans Committee. Unfortunately, Lou Piniella just missed getting in by like a vote. I think he needed like 13 votes, and he only got 12. So on the Veterans Committee. So but that's a bummer for him. I don't know why he isn't already in the Hall of Fame, but go figure. But I'm glad Leland got in. So I know he's gonna be very excited, and I'm sure he's gonna be a funny speech when he has his speech coming up next summer.
Yeah, for those of you that haven't watched the MLB Network special with Bob Costas, interviewed him a few years ago, please check it out. I think it's on YouTube as well. So check it out. But I remember Jim Leland as the third base coach of the Pittsburgh Pirates before taking over as manager in the late 80s. Him and Barry Bonds had that famous tirade. And, of course, Barry Bonds admitted later that Leland was right. He was a hothead before the start of that 89 season. I remember Jim Leland also trying to sneak in the smoke during those games at Wrigley Field back in the day. Obviously, you couldn't do it then. You definitely cannot do that now. But Jim Leland has had a great career. He always been part of winning teams. Of course, he won his only World Series as a manager with the Florida Marlins in 1997, upsetting the Cleveland Indians. And, of course, he went on to manage the Detroit Tigers, took them to the World Series in 2012, and basically reshaped that whole franchise as well. He went to 2 World Series with them back in 2006, losing to St. Louis, and, of course, in 2012, even though the White Sox should have been in the playoffs by winning that division. But that's a whole nother story. But the Tigers lost to the San Francisco Giants in 2012. He took that team to the World Series as well. So Jim Leland had a great career. And he knew what buttons to press with certain players, and he managed many of the greatest players in the games, like Barry Bonds, Miguel Cabrera, to name a few. Gary Sheffield, in my opinion, should be in the Hall of Fame. He managed him when he was with Florida. So he knew what buttons to press with players, and he was a great communicator as well. So he should have won more World Series, but it's hard to do in baseball. He still had a great career. Congratulations to him making it into Baseball Hall of Fame.
Very deserving. We'll see in the next month what players will get in, and how many blank ballots will be returned. So I know we're going to be seeing those in the next few weeks. Good grief, that's a whole different conversation right there. But yeah, where do you want to go to next? Because we got a little bit of time left before we vamoose.
Did you get a chance to watch any college basketball, women's or men's, this weekend?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Let's
give us your report, because you'll surely we'll start watching them next weekend.
Okay. Well, look, I think Creighton looks really good right now. They beat Nebraska on Sunday. That should be interesting there. And Northwestern upset Purdue for the second straight time.
I did see that.
Yeah, when Purdue is the number one. I guess if you're Purdue, you don't want to face Northwestern when you're the number one. I guess that's probably something you probably would want to do. But yeah, a nice win for Chris Collins. But yeah, I mean, Northwestern has these type of. I know they only have one loss right now, but they always have these kind of upsets like a couple of times a year. So it just happened early in Big Ten play. Illinois looks really good in Big Ten play. They beat Rutgers. So they looked really good. Miami, bounced back from that loss to Kentucky, who actually lost to Kentucky actually lost to UNC Green. UNC Wilmington, I should say. I think they were the favorites in their conference. So go figure there.
Real quick. I didn't want to interrupt you, but real quick, I did get a chance to catch just a few minutes of the coverage on Channel 9 here in Chicago. Of course, that's the CW affiliate, CW Sports affiliate here in Chicago. I did check out just a few minutes of that University of Miami game. The graphics, obviously, they're different. Of course, for those of you who don't know, that Bally Sports, they covered the ACC games on the weekends and during the week for the last 3 years. Of course, they went through bankruptcies, and now the CW has picked up the college football schedule before the ACC now with college basketball. I thought the coverage was okay.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be a decent coverage there. I think
they're
be
on every
the same.
Saturday from now to the end of the regular season with
I
March
think
Madness.
I think they're still going to use like some of the same production people, so it's not
Mhm.
so it doesn't look like too big. It's not too jarring, so the production does look good. I mean, Arizona has looked good so far. Wisconsin upset Marquette. Georgia Tech upset Duke early on ACC play. Let's see. I think Drexel upset Villanova, so there were some upsets there. Colorado State, they're kind of they're undefeated. They won a tournament down in I think it was in like Las Vegas, and they actually beat Gonzaga. They actually upset Gonzaga to win that tournament. They also beat Washington as well. So Colorado State could be a team to watch for in that Mountain West. I know New Mexico is also 7-1, so they could probably be battling it out in the Mountain West. On the women's side, I mean, it's a lot more parity over there. I think UConn has like 3 losses already. I know that Angel Reese is actually back at LSU. I know there was some stuff that happened, supposedly, but they actually won their first game back. They're actually only at 1 loss. That 1 loss was to Colorado, but the Colorado was made all the way to they made it all the way to the Sweet 16. So that's a good Colorado squad they got there. James Madison, who beat Michigan State early on, they're undefeated. They hammered a buy-in team there. So there have been a lot of good upsets and even some good games so far.
All right, and that's Lakina's college basketball notes right here on Second City Sports. Of course, the schedule picks up starting this week and into next weekend as the college football regular season has come to a close. So, just because college the bowl games schedule picks up a couple weeks, don't think that we don't talk college basketball, because you follow us for the last few years. We talk about college basketball as well, so we'll be talking a lot of that college basketball stuff for you. So get ready for that as the season goes along right here on Second City Sports.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic actually plays Illinois tomorrow on ESPN at 5:30. So that could be that could be something to look out for as well. Wisconsin plays Michigan State. They're now ranked thanks to that upset win over Marquette. Villanova and K-State. K-State only has 1 loss, so that might be a good one. Georgia and Georgia Tech, they're both playing very well. That's about it. I know I know the Northern Illinois is playing Indiana State tomorrow. So really interesting games. As look, these are some after this week, some of these teams are going to be taking a week off for finals. So I know you want to get these games in, get these wins in if you're one of these teams that have been struggling lately.
All right, Lakina, we wrap up. So we always do on Mondays, on the shows on Mondays. It's time for Old School TV Monday, and we're going to jump into the world of cartoons. Yay! And this week we will salute the animated series Captain Planet and the Planeteers. That's right.
Yes.
Yes, it was created by Barbara Pyle and Ted Turner and developed by Pyle, Nicholas Boxer, Tom Beers, and Andy Hayward, Robbie London, Bob Ford, and Cassandra Chafin. The series was produced by Turner Programming Services and DIC Enterprises. It was broadcasted on TBS and in syndication from 1990 until 1992. The sequel series, The New Adventures of Captain Planet, was produced by Hanna-Barbera Cartoons. It was distributed by Turner Program Services. It was aired from September of 93 to May of 1996. The series was reran in later years on the Cartoon Network and Boomerang. The program was a form of edutainment and advocates environmentalism and is known for having a number of famous actors providing voices for the villains. The show expanded the franchise, consisting of eco-friendly toys, comic books, video games, and a public charity to further promote the work of the show. Some of those voices included LeVar Burton. Remember him from Reading Rainbow. We're going to do that show coming up in the future. David Coburn, Whoopi Goldberg, Janice Kaiwai, and Frank Welker, and Margot Kidder as well.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite cartoons growing up, and this is actually Turner's first foray into cartoons, and that's how their partnership with Boomerang started, was because they the success of this Captain Planet. And I know some people thought that it could be a little bit preachy at times, pushing advocacy and environmentalists, but I think at the time, I think people really weren't really paying attention to that stuff just yet. I think this show helped get folks to pay attention to some of those issues, environmental issues and whatnot. So it was actually a really a great cartoon and whatnot. Like I said, they had an all-star cast, pretty much. They had some of the it was a very diverse cast too. You had a guy from Africa, you had an Asian girl, you had a Latino guy, and among others. So I think it was like one of the few first cartoons had a Middle Eastern person on there. So yeah, that was really cool to see. So I mean, this is one of those cartoons where like it was actually ended up being, it was actually one of the top cartoons, in all of, I think it was like one of the highest rated shows on TBS, not just cartoons, but everything else. You get Earth, Wind, Fire, Water, Heart, and of course, they come together. You get Captain Planet. So it spawned a couple of movies, and it was actually a really solid series from 1990. Well, the first original from like 90 to 93, and there was of course the original on TBS that went from 93 to 96.
And also, too, real quickly, Keena, I know we're still a couple of months away from the NBA All-Star break, but remember, they used to do those specials, those public service announcements during those NBA Stay in School celebrations. They always featured them.
Oh, yeah. that was
awesome, though. It was awesome, though. They got that message out, and it worked.
Yeah, the different iteration. And it was actually perfect timing, too, of course. A lot of the All-Star stuff would be on TNT, so that's a nice little cross-promotion right there. But, I mean, look, again, it was a great show. It kind of opened a lot of folks' eyes to some of the various environmental issues that were going on around the world. Climate change. Some people thought that was kind of like the first introduction to what was going on there. So
look what's happening now.
Yep, and so that kind of helped kicked off that and kind of led the way with that. So I know some people say it was, like I said, it was a little bit preachy, but I guess they were trying to get their point across and trying to make it fun and exciting too, because after all, it is still a cartoon.
Yep. So this week for Old School TV Monday, we dove into the world of cartoons, and we salute the animated series Captain Planet. Lakina, close us out.
No, real quick before we go, which types of design of the Captain Planet's costume did you like? Did you like the red and the light blue? Did you like I think there was like a yellow and a black version too for a little bit.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think the red one, because the red is one of my favorite colors outside of black. So I'm gonna go with the red.
Did you have any of the action figures? I know I had like a couple, but
I couldn't get any of the action figures. No, but I wanted one though. Okay. I wanted one, but I couldn't get my hands on one.
Yeah, a couple of things were not. Of course, if you couldn't get Captain Planet, you're pretty much screwed. So I never could find Captain Planet. But on that note, you follow me, Keena McGee, on the Twitter, X, like on the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps via the Google Play Store. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio app. And please give War Media a follow at WAR Media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports every month, live in 11 color, every Monday, every Friday, from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. Just go to your Roku app, or if you don't have the Roku TV on your smart TV, whatever device you have, go to whatever place where you got, type in Roku TV. Type in Roku, and it's all right there for you. Just type in Sports of Chicago. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, and What's Up, Cuz. I know Jason's gonna be in a good mood tonight.
Yes,
with his Dolphins and their dominating win yesterday. So you can catch it anytime, anywhere on Roku.
And we will provide.
All right, so enjoy the games, everybody, and excuse me, my voice is cracking up on me right now. Of course it is. Okay, so stay warm, everybody. Enjoy all the games, all the NBA, the college hoops and stuff like that. As you're getting up for the bowl season coming up. Winter meetings, we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated, see if something happens. But I don't think much will happen there on the baseball side for neither side of time. Yeah, well, we'll definitely talk about it. So for Sid, I'm the Kings of Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Doubles, holla.